Well, I am propagating strawberries today, and my first step is I'm going to put together a tray of little pots with some soil in them, and then we'll go to the other side of the house where I've got strawberries in waiting that I didn't believe would produce any more strawberries, but the plants are still going and they have put out a bunch of runners. And so I'm going to be working on propagating those strawberries by rooting the runners into new pots, and I'll kind of show you how that works. But the first step, what we're doing first here, is getting the soil for that. And I'm recycling soil, and I'm also kind of doing double duty here in projects. I'm going through the dahlia tubers that haven't sprouted and seeing if they're still working on it or if some of them are just completely rotted and should just be thrown out, to kind of consolidate my space and my efforts of everything we're doing here. So that's going on here, and let's get into it. Let's see here. So put some gloves on, pull one of these for now. Just gonna dump that in there and see. Okay, so this dahlia tuber does have some rooting going on here, so maybe it's on its way to giving me a sprout. So I will put it back in there, and I'm gonna add some soil to the top of it here. Then I'll put it over here in my dahlia tubers to save and to give some more time to. Okay, I got a couple of spare potting soil containers there. All right, next, let's see what's going on with this one. Same thing. I see some roots forming there. The tubers themselves feel relatively hard, so maybe it's continuing to just work on sprouting. So I'm just gonna put it back, add a little more soil to the top, potting mix I should say, side, to let it keep doing its thing. Those are going to go in a tray, and I'll water them, and they'll put them in the sun so they know that they should be activating. I think this is a dahlia leaf, but let's check and see if we can see if it's connected to a bulb. So I see some roots there. I thought I was going to be getting a lot more soil out of this exercise. It's connected to a bulb. I don't know what's going on there, so I'll put it back and put it back and hope it survives my mistreatment. I mean, it's connected to a peanut-sized bulb, if that's what's going on there. Okay, drop that right there. And this next one. Hey, Maddie, my 3-year-old's behind me tapping on the window. Wants to make sure know that she's there. Okay. Same thing. Hasn't sprouted, but there were roots on the bottom. So I'm gonna throw this in here. I'll use this guy here, put that in there. Throw some more soil on it. There we go. And put that aside for later. Okay. Well, I didn't get much soil for my strawberry propagation, so let's keep going. Well, while we were off camera, I processed a whole tray of those dahlia tubers, and lo and behold, they all were rooting, not sprouting yet, but rooting mid-July. So I was questioning whether they were going to do anything, and maybe I should just ditch them. But so I got that tray already, took it back to the holding area where there's more sun, and got it nice and moist. So they're there. These are some bigger dahlia tubers where I'm going to do the same check, and they have the potential to yield more potting soil for what I intended to be my primary project here, which was doing the strawberry propagation. But the first step is cycling through some of these dahlia tubers to see what potting soil I might reconcile or recover, I mean. Yeah, I'm not seeing any rooting there. These large ones look like, and I saw this with other large pots that I had. It seems like the really large tubers that I had just didn't do well. They're falling apart, and so yeah, that's unfortunate. Maybe the large ones were the originals, and maybe that's how it's supposed to be, that the new smaller ones that come off the originals are what would naturally come back later, maybe. I'm not sure, but yeah. So I definitely have some potting soil I can use there. So let me get that going into some little pots for propagation purposes. And when I'm propagating the strawberries and I'm going to put the runner into it like that, I don't need I don't need a big pot with a lot of soil, just enough to kind of get it to start to root is the idea. It's funny how you have all this space and you inevitably start using it to just like, I guess, taken up with storing this or holding that, and then you start cramming yourself into a smaller and smaller workspace, and it's like, why am I doing that? I built like a 20-foot long bench here so that I have plenty of space. I shouldn't be having to cram myself into a small area. It's just the things. All right, let me grab some more little pots here. Hey, let's see what we have in this pot here. Bring that back. And I'm looking to see if there's a dahlia tuber that's actually salvageable in there or growing or anything. Now that one, I see a little bit of white roots growing, but I don't know. I see white roots growing, but then I don't know what it's growing off of. I don't see anything actually happening. Yeah, I think that one's dead too. I don't know what those little white roots relate to. Maybe it was restarting itself somehow, or maybe something else is rooting in there. A weed or something perhaps, I don't know. But what I thought was a dahlia tube in there is just kind of disintegrated mush. So I will call that one done and do these while I'm here. I'll just do that first and then fill my pots. Just mush. Now you can see, I thought I had a tuber here, but you know, and they were, but each one of these, I'm just barely touching it. They're like mashed potatoes, so they just aren't working out. Okay, one more from this right here, and once again, I don't need to show you because I just did. It's another round of mashed potatoes, another round of dahlia tubers that look like mashed potatoes. So that's just garbage. Okay, well, it's too bad for those, but it is nice to be able to reclaim that potting soil and put it to use here. I'm gonna do that. Get it to good use. Propagate some strawberries with that stuff. Well, hey there. I am at the other side of the house where I've got these strawberry mother plants lined up and ready to go. They're getting a little bit dry. They need a good watering, which I'll do after I'm done with this. But I'm gonna try to figure out here is how to pin these runners into these 4-inch pots that we created. I wasn't sure what I was going to exactly use as pins. You can do a lot of things. You can use a twig, you can use a piece of wire. There's a lot of ways you can do it, but I have these tomato clips here and I thought, well, that could be slick if I just kind of put those in there and pin them down, maybe even put them in reverse. I think that what I did before seemed to work. No, that didn't really seem to work right. Let me try it one more time. If not, I'll give up and try a different way. Okay, I think I'm gonna try, I don't like where that's going, so I think I'm gonna try the wire method, so bear with me. I'll be right back to try that. Okay, I think I found a better way to do this. I'm gonna use this wire here that I just happen to have in the garage. It's basically the thickness of a paper clip. I'm gonna make it about as tall as the pot itself. Go. Now the idea is you're putting this node in contact with the soil, but you don't want to bury the crown of it. And so these, where this kind of creates a node and then it starts to leaf, this is a node. So there's one node, there's the second node. You want to use the first node, or you'd say the first node is supposed to be the strongest, which is the first node would be the node. When I say the first, I mean the node closest to the mother plant. Okay, there we go. And then I'm just going to put it nice and close there because this is a walkway that I have here, so I don't want to impede the walkway too much. And I'm going to do the other ones here. Now, one thing to be aware of is, depending on how your plant is doing, this is a relatively smaller container. So I've got 6 runners coming off this. If you were going to be more conservative about it, which you know I won't be, but if you were, you might cut 3 of these off and only try to propagate 3 because you're putting stress on the mother plant here. But I'm just going to keep the mother plant well watered, keep it fertilized, and see what I can get away with. I'm going to come back and water these in more, but I'd already pre-moistened the pots when we were at the potting bench. I keep making these wires too long. So this is a hood strawberry, so I hope to get lots of new plants out of it because those hood strawberries are really good. I like them. And I'm not cutting off the second node quite yet. I could, but I'm actually curious if I root these, if I might have an opportunity to root the next ones again. Root 2 nodes off 1 runner. See how that goes. Again, not recommended if you want the highest possible chance of success. You would cut down on the number of runners and you'd only keep one node going per runner. But I like to see how far you can push the limits when I do these things. So the plan is that after these is to check on these, to come back and look and say, hey, have they rooted? Once they've rooted, then I'll cut them off from the mother plant. That runner is like an umbilical cord kind of thing, right? So just cut them off from the mother plant and let them carry on from there. That's that plant. So I've got a bunch more here to do. What I'd propose is I'll do these and then I'll turn the camera back on, and when I'm done, and we'll close up how this exercise went so far. Edit. Okay, well, I've got all of these rooted in here, and there's a couple more down there outside the camera view, and that's about a dozen new baby plants that we're propagating. So I'm pretty happy with that, whole hoods. So my favorite variety, June bearing. Right now would be the time when you might be doing this with June bearing strawberries. June bearing strawberries bear their fruit, as it suggests, around the June timeframe, and then they ultimately will stop, whereas the everbearing could still be bearing strawberries. So if there were everbearing plants, which I do have some still back out in the garden, I'd be leaving them out there with the hope that those might still generate some more strawberries later in the season. These hoods were done generating strawberries, which is why I brought them around to the side of the house here, and why I'm now working on propagating them at this point. Okay, I will see you all later.